Let's get right into it. Number 9. Catching the Golden State Killer. The Golden State Killer was like the final boss of criminals, breaking into homes, attacking people, and disappearing without a trace. He committed at least 13 murders and 50 rapes across California between 1974 and 1986. The scariest part is, he was actually a cop. Joseph James D'Angelo was a police officer while he was doing all this. It's like having a wolf guarding the sheep. The police had his DNA from the crime scenes, but it was like having a key without knowing which door it opens. Then in 2018, scientists figured out they could use the same kind of DNA testing that people use to find their long-lost relatives. Those websites where you spit in a tube and find out you're 2% Viking. Turns out those same websites can help catch killers. They found some of his distant cousins on these genealogy websites. Then they started building a massive family tree, like the biggest game of Guess Who ever played. They narrowed it down to this one family branch in California, and there he was, Joseph James D'Angelo, former cop, grandfather, and one of the most violent criminals in American history. When they arrested him, he was living a normal life in Sacramento. He had daughters, grandkids, neighbors who thought he was just a grumpy old man. The guy who terrorized California for years was spending his retirement gardening and fixing his motorcycle. This case changed everything about how we catch killers. Since D'Angelo's arrest, police have used the same method to solve over 200 cold cases. It's like someone finally turned on the lights in a dark room where killers have been hiding for decades. Number 8. The ghost ship Mary Celeste. December 4th, 1872. The crew of the Dei Gratia spots something strange floating in the Atlantic. Another ship, but something's not right. The sails are torn, and no one's at the helm. It's the Mary Celeste, a cargo ship that left New York just a month earlier. When they board, they find the cargo still there, and the crew's belongings untouched. The ship's log shows nothing unusual until November 25th, then nothing. For 150 years, people have been trying to figure out what happened. Some say pirates, but nothing was stolen. Sea monsters? No. The Mary Celeste was carrying 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol. 9 were found empty. These 9 barrels were made of red oak. Red oak is full of tiny holes that let alcohol vapors seep out. This turned the cargo hold into a giant bomb waiting to happen. Scientists recreated what might have happened. Alcohol vapors could cause a quick, violent explosion that burns out fast. So fast it wouldn't leave burn marks. The captain's wife and daughter were aboard. They likely tied a rope from the lifeboat to the ship, planning to wait until the danger passed. But the rope likely snapped in rough seas. Without the ship to protect them, the small lifeboat wouldn't have stood a chance. 10 people vanished into history. Number 7. The Devil's Triangle. For years, the legend claimed this patch of ocean was eating up ships and planes. The story goes that if you sail through this triangle between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, you might just vanish without a trace. Turns out this mystery isn't so mysterious after all. Flight 19. The squadron of 5 Navy planes that vanished in 1945. For years, people blamed aliens, time portals, and even Atlantis. What actually happened was the lead pilot got lost, ignored his instruments, and led everyone into a storm. The rescue plane they sent out exploded because someone lit a cigarette near a fuel leak. What about all those ships that supposedly vanish without a trace? This area sees more traffic than most highways. It's one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. More ships means more accidents. Scientists counted the number of ships that disappeared here compared to other busy areas. The numbers are exactly what you'd expect for such a busy region. There is something weird going on in the triangle. The weather. This place is nature's version of a blender. The warm Gulf Stream meets cold air, creating instant storms that pop up out of nowhere. Then there are rogue waves. Massive 100-foot walls of water that appear out of nowhere. Scientists only recently proved these exist, because most people who saw them didn't live to talk about it. A lot of the mysterious disappearances never actually disappeared. Journalist Larry Kusha went through all the famous cases. Most of these ghost ships were either found, never existed, or sank in completely different parts of the ocean. Some were even made up by writers trying to sell books. It's just a busy shipping lane with bad weather and worse PR. Number 6. The Lost Franklin Expedition. In 1845, the Franklin Expedition set sail with 129 men and 2 of the most advanced ships of the time. They had enough food to last 3 years. They vanished completely. Sir John Franklin wanted to find the Northwest Passage, a sea route connecting Europe to Asia through the Arctic. His ships, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, got stuck in ice near King William Island. These ships were floating fortresses with reinforced hulls, steam engines, and enough canned food for years. For over a century, no one knew what happened. Modern technology and Inuit oral history revealed the truth. Those advanced canned foods were slowly poisoning the crew. Lead from the canned seals was leaching into their food. The crew was slowly going insane from lead poisoning while trapped in Arctic ice. Scientists examined crew members' bones and found cut marks. These weren't from animals. They were precise, methodical cuts made by human tools. The crew resorted to cannibalism. The Inuit people had been telling this story for generations. They spoke of seeing white men who were eating each other. No one believed them at the time. Modern forensics proved they were right all along. In 2014, they found the wreck of HMS Erebus. 2 years later, they found HMS Terror. Both ships were in surprisingly good condition, sitting upright on the seafloor. In the captain's cabin of HMS Terror, everything was perfectly preserved. The bed was made. Books were still on the shelves. The ship had been deliberately prepared before being abandoned. Number 5. The fate of the last Romanovs. In 1918, the Romanovs vanished. They were basically the Kardashians of their time, if the Kardashians also ran an entire country. For almost a century, people couldn't stop asking what happened to Anastasia. She was the youngest daughter of Tsar Nicholas II, and people really wanted to believe she survived. Over the years, dozens of women claimed to be her. The most famous was Anna Anderson, who popped up in 1920 saying she was the lost princess. She was so convincing that even some of Anastasia's relatives believed her. In 1991, scientists found a mass grave near Ekaterinburg, Russia. Inside were the remains of several people, and thanks to DNA testing, they confirmed it was the Romanov family. 2 bodies were missing from the grave. This kept the Anastasia conspiracy theories alive, but in 2007, archaeologists found another grave nearby. Inside were the 2 missing bodies, and one of them was Anastasia. They compared the DNA to living relatives of the Romanovs, including Prince Philip. It was a perfect match. Anna Anderson, the most famous Anastasia imposter, was actually a Polish factory worker named Franziska Szankowska. DNA proved it. On July 17, 1918, Bolshevik soldiers took the entire family, mom, dad, 5 kids, and even their servants, to a basement. They told them they were taking a family photo. Instead, they opened fire. The killers moved 2 bodies to a different location to hide the evidence better. Number 4. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. 9 experienced Russian hikers in the Ural Mountains, 1959. They slashed their way out of their tent and ran into the freezing darkness, barely dressed. Their bodies were found scattered across the snow, some barely clothed, others with bizarre injuries. Some had crushed ribs, but without breaking the skin. One was missing her tongue. This case baffled investigators for 62 years. Scientists recently discovered it was a slab avalanche. When the hikers cut into the slope to set up their tent, they created a deadly trap. The wind that night was picking up snow and depositing it above their tent. Hour after hour, this snow built up like a heavy blanket on a weak shelf. Then, 7 to 13 hours later, a solid slab of snow weighing as much as a truck came crashing down on their tent. This explains the weird injuries. Imagine being hit by a solid wall of ice moving at highway speeds. It's like getting hit by a car, but without the external bruising. The missing tongue is actually pretty common in bodies exposed to the elements. Small animals tend to go for soft tissue first. The slope wasn't steep enough for a normal avalanche, but a slab avalanche can happen on gentler slopes, and it can wait hours after being triggered. Number 3. The moving rocks of Death Valley. In Death Valley, one of the hottest and driest places on Earth, there are long trails in the dirt behind massive rocks. It's like someone grabbed these 700-pound boulders and dragged them across the ground. But there's no one around for miles. For decades, people came up with wild theories. Some said it was magnetic fields. Others blamed aliens. No one could prove how these rocks were sliding across racetrack playa. Until 2014, when scientists finally caught them in the act, the answer was cooler than aliens. First, it rains in Death Valley. That's super rare. The rain creates a shallow pool on the lake bed. Then at night, when temperatures drop below freezing, a thin sheet of ice forms. In the morning, the sun warms things up, and the ice begins to break into large panels. Light winds push these ice panels around. They catch the rocks like tiny frozen bulldozers and push them across the muddy surface. The rocks basically go ice skating. Some of these rocks move as fast as 15 feet per minute when conditions are just right. rocks that weigh as much as your refrigerator, sliding across the ground faster than you can walk. The reason this mystery took so long to solve is because these conditions only happen once every few years. You need rain in one of the driest places on Earth. Then you need that rain to freeze in one of the hottest places on Earth. And then you need just the right amount of wind to push the ice around. It's like nature's version of winning the lottery. It's not aliens or magnetic fields. It's just Death Valley turning into nature's biggest ice rink. And those rocks, they're just really slow ice skaters. Number 2, the Somerton Man. In 1948, a man in a nice suit was found dead on an Australian beach. He looked like he'd just dozed off after a rough day at the office. All the labels in his clothes were cut out. He had no ID, no wallet, nothing that could tell us who he was. The only thing in his pockets was a piece of paper with the words, Tamam Shud, on it. That's Persian for it is ended. For over 70 years, this case drove detectives crazy. In 2022, scientists finally figured out who this mystery man was. Using DNA analysis and family tree research, they identified him as Carl Charles Webb. He was a 43-year-old electrical engineer from Melbourne. He liked writing poetry and was apparently pretty good at chess. He had a wife, but she told everyone he just up and left one day. We still don't know how he died or why he was on that beach, but after 70 years, we at least know his name. Number 1. The Lost King Under the Car Park. They found a king under a parking lot in Leicester, England. King Richard III died in battle in 1485. He was buried at Greyfriars Church. Then Henry VIII destroyed all the monasteries. Greyfriars got demolished, and Richard's grave was lost. Some said his body was thrown in a river. In 2012, archaeologists dug up a parking lot. 6 hours in, they found human bones. These belonged to someone who got absolutely destroyed in battle. The skeleton had 8 wounds to the head alone. The spine was curved like a question mark. Historical accounts said Richard III had scoliosis. They did DNA tests comparing the bones to Richard's living relatives. The match was 99.999% accurate. There are people walking around today with King Richard III's DNA. The parking spot where they found him had a painted R on it. It stood for reserved. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.